And now for our listeners who want to kind of delve a little bit more deeper into it and have a little bit more knowledge with Windows and Linux. Well, if this is going to be a Linux server versus a Windows, you've got to format the drives. And so now we're talking about file systems for the drives. Windows uses NTFS, NT
Hmm.
file system. Linux uses a myriad of other file systems, RiserFS, ext2, ext3, ext4. And each of these are just the way the operating system manages the data on the physical drive itself. In your case, which file system did you use?
I went really nerdy and went with the latest EXT4.
Okay.
Uh, it, there was a bunch of really new, cool, snifty features, but I can't remember using it. When I did this last server, it was uh, that I did that as well,
Hmm.
and there were advantages to having the new EXT4. In fact, I think it was just barely out of development
Yeah.
release at
Yeah,
that
and I
point.
know ext4 is a lot better with regards to searching for files as well
Hmm.
as packing the data to eliminate fragmentation.
Yeah.
It's the normal evolution of ext3. For those who are curious about, all right, well, if I am going to install Linux on the drives, which one do I use? ext2, ext3, ext4? Maybe I should always use the latest and greatest. But something that I discovered is that's not all necessarily true. Specifically for SSD drives, our solid state drives, one of the
Okay.
issues that you have is read and write lifetime. And
Yeah.
well, with these newer file systems, whether it's NTFS for Windows or ext3 and ext4, you have journaling,
Hmm.
which is basically uh, reading the hard drive and writing to it on a regular basis to index files, manage them, again, just its overall operation. And that puts wear and tear on your SSDs. So if you're going to use Linux, the recommended one is to use ext2. And that file system does not have journaling enabled. Or
Yeah.
I'm not even sure. I don't think it has that capability. It's something to look in a little bit more deep. But when people ask me, that's what I tell them. If you're going to install an SSD, format it to ext2, a lot safer. Your drive will last a lot longer. Now, how much longer? Well, that's always a matter up for debate, but I think it's always better to go on the side of caution.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be nice when SSDs eventually price to
Mm-hmm.
storage ratio
Yeah.
catch up to
Yeah.
where we are these days.
Now here's the next logical step. All right, so now I've got a thumb drive and I want to share files between the two machines. Should I format it to NTFS or should I format it to one of the EXTs for driving, or is there a happy medium? In fact, uh, I believe the common format that SSDs usually have when you pull them out of the box is FAT32.
And you're talking about a SSD drive, not a flash order drive, correct?
Yeah, or like a thumb drive or a flash card, that kind of thing.
Most of those, yeah, are pre-formatted with FAT. They might be in FAT32. I can't remember.
Yeah, I'm pretty
I
sure
have
it's FAT32, I think, because I know FAT16 doesn't support anything over 2 gigs.
Yeah, and 32 is caught at 4. So
Yeah.
um, I would leave it at FAT32. Linux has the capability to read both. Um, and I believe, I haven't done research on this recently, the NTFS 4 or NTFS on a flash drive is not really the best idea in the world in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Due to, because flash drives actually aren't physical medium in the way the operating system is used to dealing with a hard drive. There's actually a translation layer between the actual data storage and then the understanding of the operating
Mm-hmm.
system seeing the data storage. And if you, the reason that's the reason why they leave it in FAT32 is it's just nice and simple,
Yep.
and you will run into read errors. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm just throwing technical words out here at this point, but there's a good reason why they have it in FAT32. Now, there was also, when I was researching this, there also was a mention of an actual flash drive specific. Um, Dang it, drop the word. It's uh, what NTFS is. Sorry,
Yeah.
file system. Sorry, a flash drive specific file system that was supposed to work
Mm-hmm.
very well with the translation layer and actually cut down a lot on the translation cost
Uh-huh.
between the two mediums. And I don't remember what it's called. Again, I'm wonderful today. But there is one they're looking at. I believe Linux was probably the first one to support it, and Windows was doing its usual, if you really want to, maybe. So, yeah.
Well, that's great. I mean, for anybody who wants to get started, and again, to reassure you that Linux and Windows can work together, that's kind of the quick rundown of it all. There can be a lot more research, but if you just want to get a system up and running, that's all you really need to know. It doesn't get much easier than that, to be honest. That's the nice thing is computer programmers have gone a long ways of making these things compatible. You don't have to choose one over the other.
Yeah.
So
one way.
Yeah. So anyway, time for the pick of the show. So that I have mine. It's a website this time, and it's something I found out, which I found really cool. It's called ZEETcode.com. ZEET Code. It's a phenomenal webpage that gives beginner and intermediate tutorials for virtually every modern programming language under the sun. It was amazing. I found stuff on there for C#, VB, the .NET framework for Windows, Python, PHP, ASP, Java, Java Swing, Qt, GTK, and all the examples you could ever want. So if you want to kind of get started and you just want to throw yourself and you're saying, here, let me just randomly pick which one to learn, it's a great website. I highly recommend you checking it out.
Very nice. And as I've been doing a lot of work lately on servers, etc., on my original box, I did a lot of straight up command line config file editing, and at one point I had a VPN running and the file server running and 4 or 5 other things. And this time I wanted to try something a little simpler. And I discovered this tool called Webmin. It's just one word, Webmin. And it is a web server that runs on your file or on your computer that has a ton of plugins for everything. They call them modules. Mm-hmm. And you can, using the web graphic interface, you can configure your file server, your DNS server, your VPN, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And it's, if you're familiar, don't get me wrong, you shouldn't just skip over and start using this. You if you really want to understand what's going on, you should start from the command line, do the text files, figure that out, and be like, oh, okay. And then when you get to the GUI, it's like, oh, okay, done. It took me 10 minutes to set up Samba, which the last time I think took about an hour. It was miserable. So Webmin, it's actually a package, at least in Ubuntu, which is the system I'm using right now, but I'm sure that every single OS has it at some point. If not, it's actually not dependent upon anything except a few. It's at least not dependent upon Apache, the web server Apache. It has its own mini browser. You can get the files off of the SourceForge page, Google Webmin, brings it right up, bam, install it, and it's, that's all I can say. It's just fantastic, for especially if you have to do a lot of single location web server management or computer server management. So
awesome. Good deal. All right. Well, thank you very much, and I hope everybody can join us next time.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
All right.
Oh, Krusty the Clown, really? Oh.